Welcome, Virians, humans, Charlie Pollard, and Charlie Pollard, to this, the 275th episode of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 26th of September, 2018, and featuring Big Finish, Blue Forgotten Planet, written by Nicholas Briggs, and starring Colin Baker as the Doctor and India Fisher as Charlotte Charlie Pollard, and also as Charlotte Charlie Pollard. I'm your host for this final episode of the season, Randy Ronson McCulloch. And with me tonight on the panel is our technical director, Mad Matt Winchell.
Drinky drink.
Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black.
Someone made coffee and I found it.
Tim, the Enchanter Sheridan.
I'm having a nice glass of tea.
And as stated previously, Thomas Fireheart will not be tonight because he's a poo-poo head and doesn't do audios. All right, so how's your week been?
Interesting.
Gotten cold.
Yes.
I like it.
Yes, I agree with that. Although today was 75, but we did have a few days in the 50s and 60s, and I enjoyed that.
I'm perfectly fine with this.
We were having 75 like yesterday. And then we had a thunderstorm. And now it's back to being freaking
We had
cold.
that most heavy rain, and then it stopped after a half hour.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we had some days in the 50s and 60s, then flooding yesterday, and today was 75.
Yeah, mind you, the rain was annoying because it was like right during prime time. So I'm trying to watch Fox because it had the season premiere of The Gifted and of Lethal Weapon. And of course, the atmospheric disturbance of the storm kept causing my signal to break up. Even though I'm only like a dozen blocks or so from the frickin' Rayton Broadcast Center. I'm just like, it was really hard to watch The Gifted. It got better during the second half of Lethal Weapon, but still annoying. I'll probably
was
have
that
to...
a new season or was that rerun?
Oh yeah, this was the premiere of the new...
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
the
I'll need
season
to check
2 of The
that out on
Gifted.
Hulu.
And season 3 of Lethal Weapon, which if you hadn't heard, they had to replace one of the main actors, the guy that played Riggs. Apparently,
So Lethal Weapon was a movie series.
it
TV
became
series
a
now
TV.
for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
They rebooted it as a TV series, and it was doing
Gotcha.
fairly well. But the guy that played Riggs apparently was just a pain in the ass to work with, and was kind of abusive on the set, so they fired him. Between seasons, and so they basically just killed Martin Riggs.
Damn.
I'm like, but
as you do.
Not really going to be Lethal Weapon now.
Yeah.
So
it's Riggs and Murtaugh. That's Lethal Weapon.
Mind you, they're basically replacing him with somebody that acts just like him, only less alcoholic. But we'll see.
Arg. Yeah, I'd start declaring that this is no longer.
I'm still giving it a chance. I'll watch it for a few more episodes. The first one wasn't bad. So we'll see how that goes. I haven't seen how they're going to mesh together yet, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. And of course, this means I also have to see what else is premiering in the next couple of weeks. Like, if they're premiering that, when is the Orville coming out? Because that's my other Fox show.
The other Fox show that's worth watching.
Okay, so that's not airing till December. So
a
December
Christmas
30th.
present.
So no, post Christmas, December 30th. And I believe that's going to be about the same time Gotham's coming out on Fox too, because the final season of Gotham is supposed to be coming out finally.
So something to watch during our post-holiday week off.
Possibly, yes. Okay, so on the show tonight, we've got news and birthdays, geek talk if we have time, and I think Matt had a little bit to say, and I think we'll probably have time.
I have an interesting internet tidbit, but yeah.
Then our episode summary, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings.
Hooray.
So, birthdays. Starting with the 22nd of September, we had 2 birthdays, both companions, and both still alive. Billy Piper, who played Rose Tyler from 2005 to 2006, and then again in 2009, turned 36. Then, on the same day, Fraser Hines, who played Jamie McCrimmon from 1967 to 1969, and again in 1985, turned 74. He also, of course, frequently does Big Finish.
And I would like to tell the Radio Times that just because someone tweets on their birthday doesn't make it a news article.
Really quick, I had to grab Fraser Hines here quick for the stream because I didn't see him on that list for some reason.
Yeah, that was your blindness. He's been there since last week. Because I pretty much put the birthdays up right after the podcast last week. So, yeah.
I didn't see him. But yeah, our Jamie McCrimmon and unofficial second Doctor.
Yes. The 24th of September saw the birthday of David Banks, the Cyberleader from the 82 to 88 years of Doctor Who.
Excellent.
Yes. He turned 67 and, of course, has just returned to Big Finish to do more work.
There's more logic in what he says.
Which, has us here on the Unearthly podcast going, about damn time!
Yep. Seriously.
And then today is the birthday of Leonard Sachs, who played President Barusa in Arc of Infinity.
I like his Barusa.
He's on this list, of course, as any actor to play any incarnation of Time Lord automatically goes on this list.
Especially a named Time Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Who appears in 3 incarnations, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Would have been 109, but died in 1990 at 80. So, that is our birthdays. There are no lost stories this week.
Thank goodness. We had, 2 of them last week?
We had 2 of them last week, and then we had 1 the week before. So, it's been a rough month for Doctor Who. Not the hardest month, but it's been,
It's been one of those oh dear moments, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, moving on to our series news, and Tim has the series news.
Yes, we have the series news. And with our usual luck, a new trailer for Doctor Who was posted within hours of our sign-off last week. Chock full of scenes from the upcoming series.
Now, we've all watched this, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I believe that was unanimous.
I've watched this 2-3 times. They actually saw as twice. I posted this to the channel last Thursday with a "God damn it, BBC." And yeah, this is a very interesting trailer because it gives us a lot of scenes which we haven't gotten much of thus far.
And it's more of the 13th Doctor's dialogue than we've seen cumulatively, if I'm not mistaken.
Than the previous ones, yeah. There's a lot more of her in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a good thing because it's the show called Doctor Who.
So anybody notice that apparently there's a scene where they're dodging blaster fire and it looks almost directly out of Star Wars?
I'm trying to remember where was that.
Particularly notice that, but I did notice some Star Wars-esque visuals.
Yeah. It's about 27 seconds into the trailer.
Oh, perfect.
They're dodging weapons fire.
On Jakku, it looks like.
Yeah, and the weapons fire, I mean, we've never seen Doctor Who visual effects do a direct, look like straight out of Star Wars before, but it's right there. The ships we've seen, this is the same one that apparently we have a spaceship on that we see earlier. They're on some kind of desert planet, Tatooine, whatever, Dune.
Mm-hmm.
Looking style planet, and we have a ship that comes down within the first few seconds of the trailer.
And it looks kind of like almost like a variant of the carriole from Dune, in fact.
Little larger, but it has that Star Warsy kind of cobbled together look.
That too.
At least original, like 70s Star Wars, 70s, 80s Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. A lived-in look.
Yes. And I think we see some corridors that might be from the same ship. I can't tell.
Might be, yeah.
But those look really white. Really white and really circular. It's like somebody was doing their Millennium Falcon look.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, sort of, but that's a little too clean even for Millennium Falcon.
I think he's saying the new movie Millennium Falcon was.
You mean the Solo
from
movie
Solo.
look?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, can we borrow these sets from
When-
Solo because we need to do
Yeah.
Doctor Who?
When everyone was doing the memes, like, "Oh my God, Han, what did you do to the Falcon in just a few short years?"
He lived in it.
Literally
Smoked
lived in it.
apparently.
Yeah.
Every day.
Wouldn't be surprised.
But yeah, so that looks like our special effects are definitely going to be very, very Lucasian. Is that a word, Lucasian?
It is
Possibly
now.
not yet, but
Warsian, maybe? They look like they're looking to possibly catch up with the big budget sci-fi.
I remember the phrase Spielbergian from like the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's because lots of people looking up at things and so on. Yeah.
I think Animaniacs kind of made that a thing. Animaniacs or Tiny Toons. Can't remember which.
Possibly
produced
both.
by Spielberg.
Same writers.
Yeah.
I know
But-
Hitchcockian and Kubrickian is a word, so why can't Lucasian be a word?
Lucasian is okay. We've now added a
Sure.
word to the dictionary. Great, Lucasian. All right.
I
But
suppose.
well, thing is, he can't create or he can world build pretty well. He can't write dialogue per crap, but when it comes to special effects, Lucas is your man. He pretty much set the trend. So if you're going to follow somebody in that aspect, I guess George
He set the
Lucas is
trend
your
and
bet.
went crazy trying to set it.
Yep.
So we see an awful lot of running in this trailer, I'm going to add, which, it's been stated in previous seasons, the Doctor's all about the running.
It's even mentioned in the episode we're reviewing today.
We see her striding into what looks like a rebel command center. I'm just going to say it again. Running through what looks to be a brewery, probably doubling as an oil rig.
Or maybe a boiler room.
So, if you're going to keep making the Star Wars reference, I'll point out there's a guy that seems to be pulling the I'll detonate this thermal detonator trick.
And we see tendrils of like black things. Yeah. And haven't they done this "it's about time" thing before?
Yeah.
I think so. It's
Probably.
an obvious time joke anyway, so
That's true. It seemed to like my first thought was that they were trying to do the and not a moment too soon, but without directly quoting.
Well, I think "it's about time" was used like after one of Moffat's extended breaks. When
Possibly.
This was kind of an extended break, so that would make sense.
Not really.
We went 2 Geek Cons without news.
about news for this season, maybe.
When did Twice Upon a Time come out?
That would have been Christmas of 17.
And this is fall
So
of
that would be
18.
10 months
That's
between.
that's three
And I
quarters
don't remember how long before Christmas season was.
Not very. I'd say it's only been about a year. Maybe a year and a half. The break that we went we went a whole year. Let's see, The Doctor Falls was aired 1st of July. So we went.
Okay, yeah, so that goes with the 2 Geek Cons thing.
Yeah, there was only a Christmas special between this GeekCon and last GeekCon, but it wasn't as bad as when we had the wedding or the Husbands of River Song, and then we didn't see any more Doctor Who until the return of Dr. Mysterio a year
That's
later.
True. Yeah, you're right. We're getting it 2 months earlier.
And this, so, Series 10 had a spring release, and they've switched to an autumn release. So, again, that takes a long break. It's not also 18 months the infamous 18-month shutdown of Doctor Who back in the 80s. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a minor shift in time.
Yeah, I think the "it's about time" joke just doesn't quite work yet.
No.
Anyway, moving on.
So one observation I had was there's a scene where she's doing it's a doctor's speech very similar to the one that Capaldi gave in, I think it was Flatline. And if you look at the visuals, she seems to be in her welding outfit in the workshop where she made the sonic screwdriver in the other trailer.
I'm not sure she was giving that speech or if she was just voiceovering it.
That's a good question, because if she was what I was kind of thinking when I saw her as giving it at that time was I was kind of wondering if she was like rehearsing, or if it was kind of one of those, I just regenerated, I need to remind myself who I am type of deals. I wasn't sure if it was something like that or like if because it didn't seem like there was anybody else in the room, but It could have just been a voiceover.
It could also have been camera angle. I couldn't tell.
Right.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Another thing I noticed was in there's the clip where she's just like, "Oh, I'm a traveler, and sometimes I see problems." She sounded very reminiscent of Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly in that particular line. Just something about it to me.
Now you want to hear Jodie Whittaker say, "I aim to misbehave"?
That would be amazing.
Oh. Have you noticed a trend for the background music to use a lot more pop/rock style?
I noticed it's trying to use a lot of pop, and I don't feel that mixes.
It was definitely that way in this trailer, and I kind of...
It was that way in the last trailer, too, where she broke the glass ceiling.
So maybe they are, like...
Yes, that was the pun they were making with that trailer, Matt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where that big stained glass ceiling gets shattered, and she looks and goes, "Oops." Yeah, but again, that was a bunch of pop rock music.
So maybe that might be the way kind of looking at like a young female audience to bring in and be like,
Well, I'm wondering if this is going to be the composer's style.
Shoot me.
Yeah.
I would hope not. I would hope that's more the trailers.
I'm hoping that's the trailer work and not not what we're getting.
In which case, the people who are piecing together the trailers need to be slapped.
Mm-hmm.
No, Chibnall. Well, that for trailers I can deal with it.
Yeah.
If this is what we're getting in the show, then Chibnall needs to be slapped for hiring this person.
Considering how many movie trailers are like pumped full of Kanye West, I can deal with this as a trailer.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be entirely comfortable with it as the main sort of ambient music for the season.
I swear to God, if they don't have the actual Doctor Who theme for Doctor Who, I'm gonna.
We've already heard a variation on the new Doctor Who theme. I can't remember where, but we've heard it.
I don't remember hearing it, so.
It was in one of the trailers. I can't remember which. It might have been the Breaking the Glass Ceiling trailer. You got a few seconds of it. You got a few seconds of it at the very end of the trailer. But no, but if the composer is going to be using a whole bunch of pop rock, I mean, we've gotten bits and pieces of more classic rock or modern rock, some of it, like in End of the World, where it was thematically appropriate because they were actually playing that song in the episode. But other than that, and of course the odd Murray Gold composed music for that, and Christmas music during the Christmas episodes.
And then there was like that cover in Orient Express.
Yeah, but having the occasional little pieces that actually fit the individual episode, sure, fine. But making the overall soundtrack to the show nothing but pop music, kill me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even Matt's fond of ELO, even if the soundtrack was entirely ELO, I think I would get annoyed by it.
I don't think even Class did that in Class.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I do agree that if you make the entirety of the soundtrack ELO, it's still not going to save a soundtrack for a show.
Yeah, even if the soundtrack was all Queen,
right?
Like unless Queen fucking composed it like they did for Flash Gordon,
right? Highlander.
And Highlander.
And Highlander,
yeah. Or who was it that composed the music for Dune?
Toto did a couple of themes for it.
Actually, they did most of the music for Dune.
Did they?
Yes.
There's another musical instructor on there too.
Hmm.
I think they just did like 2 of the major overarching themes, but they didn't do all of it.
Either way,
they did a good job though.
Either way, it's still, you can understand the band being related to that because they did the music.
Mm-hmm.
Here, if your composer that you've hired is just taking music from a bunch of other people and throwing it into scenes,
right? Not to mention that would eat up the budget.
Yeah,
big time. Yeah,
right. Licensing and rights. Yeah,
like I could see a show like Clash doing that because if you would expect teams to be playing modern music. Doctor Who, to me, even though like it clearly moves along with the time, it still generally has more of a timeless feel where it acknowledges the passage of time, but it doesn't date itself in the way that using current music would.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, if they're getting into a car in the 1970s and they turn on a radio,
then I expect
and they play
something
a
like
70s song.
Like I expect "Don't Fear the Reaper" to come out there. Yeah.
That kind of thing works. But no, having all of your music being modern pop rock, I'm hoping not. I'm praying to God not.
Oh, please don't. No. Yeah.
Anyway, was there anything else on the trailer before we moved on? Going once? Going twice?
I liked her audio bits, but that's about it.
Okay. Next article.
Okay. On top of that, we have the official UK and US broadcast times for The Woman Who Fell to Earth. In the UK, it'll be airing on BBC One, at 6:45 p.m. British Standard Time, and will run for an hour. This will put Doctor Who right after Country File, which has ratings of 4 to 6 million viewers weekly, and will be followed up by Strictly Come Dancing, The Results, which is the announcement of the results to the show that frequently would bump Doctor Who in its old time slot. BBC America has announced the premiere will be simulcast with the UK, putting the show at 1:45 p.m. Eastern, 12:45 p.m. Central Time. No word yet from either broadcaster if this is its permanent time slot or if it's just for this one episode.
Yeah, we know that BBC One is trying to regulate when Doctor Who is airing in the UK, because it being bounced all over the place.
And I understand them wanting trying to get some more eyes on it too, because it seems like they've been losing eyes despite it being a big show for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, the big problem is that they were losing it because people never knew what time it was on either.
And sometimes it was just pretty late for a show that you watch with your kids.
Mm-hmm. Especially...
So they stapled it in a position where they're like, here's a thing that people always look for. It's right before that now.
Mm-hmm. It's right before this, and it's right after this. Which actually is kind of how Doctor Who became a thing originally. Because it was on like right after the football and right before Top of the Pops, if I recall. Back in the 60s.
Yeah, those would be big shows in Britain, especially. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was a thing back then where Doctor Who just got sandwiched into that Saturday afternoon time slot, and that's helped it become big. Well, that and the Daleks.
Yeah, that and all the kids running around playgrounds shouting "exterminate."
Mm-hmm. And then later learning the cyber lumber. Yeah.
Yep.
But now it's now we see if we can get this a good sandwich spot for it to thrive again. We'll see.
Maybe.
Moving on.
The Radio Times has given us a new synopsis for the first episode, as well as a full cast list. Jodie Whittaker makes her debut as the 13th Doctor, who crash lands following an explosive regeneration that has apparently destroyed the TARDIS. She finds herself lost and alone in Sheffield, with no memory of who she used to be, and has an encounter with 3 seemingly ordinary people whose lives are about to change forever.
It almost would have worked, Tim, except you would have had to start out with, in a world where Jodie Whittaker makes her debut.
So if she crash lands, does that mean she somehow makes it back into the TARDIS in time to crash?
I don't know. I mean, this is the Radio Times, so.
Mm.
The Doctor will be played by Jodie Whittaker. Graham O'Brien will be played by Bradley Walsh. Ryan Sinclair will be played by Tosin Cole. Yasmin Khan will be played by Mandip Gill. Grace will be played by Sharon D. Clark. Tim Shaw by Samuel Oatley. Carl, with a K, will be played by Johnny Dixon. Rahul will be played by Amit Shah. Sonia will be played by Asha Kingsley. Janie will be played by Janine Meller. Ramesh Sundar will be played by Asif Khan. Andy will be played by James Thackeray. And Dean will be played by Philip Abiodun. Philip. Dean will be played by Philip. Okay.
Philip.
Abiodun.
Abiodun.
You left out the last two names on the list.
Yep, they're technically on the next page.
Oh, right.
Scroll.
Dennis will be played by Stephen McKenna, and Gabriel will be played by Everell A. Walsh.
That is supposed to be the entire cast list for this episode.
Where is...
What was that, Bill?
Was that? That was all robot.
No, I said, where is featuring Nicholas Briggs?
Nope.
Apparently, there's no Nick Briggs.
No monsters?
No
If
monsters.
there's no
Ooh,
monsters,
spooky.
no Nick Briggs. I have no idea what's up with
Mhm.
this. Maybe the aliens don't talk, which
Right.
kind of worries me.
That would worry me too.
Because
Is it wrong that... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, is it wrong that I now want to do honest Doctor Who trailers voiced by Tim?
I would totally be up for that.
We could throw together a trailer for each one of for each episode of Doctor Who and have Tim do the honest trailer for it.
It would just depend how long it would take to edit it.
Yeah, that would be that
would depend upon if Tim could get it in one good edit, in one good take, and
I meant the
if we can get
visuals,
me the
yeah.
footage I can edit it together with.
Well, yeah, it would be the episode would be the footage.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that would be an interesting addition to our Unearthly podcast channel.
Mm-hmm.
Would be the honest Doctor Who trailers.
Oh shit! Starring this man in a tin can.
Starring Jodie Whittaker as transgender David Tennant.
Starring this Rule 63 David Tennant.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, we're gonna have to. We'll have to think about it and see if we can
Right.
possibly do that.
It's a thought. It's a thought to try for our next season, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Moving
We've
on
got
to
no
BBC
cast and crew
books.
news. Yeah, it's books. Go ahead, Bill.
And it's not Candy Jar.
Candy jar, yay!
We reported a few months back about the new 13th Doctor Who novels coming out from BBC Books alongside the premiere. Now, only a couple weeks from launch, we have more information plus the actual covers. I don't see the actual information, so I guess I've got to follow the link.
Yes. Well, I couldn't exactly post the covers, could I?
Dawson, Molten Heart by Una McCormick, and Combat Magics by Steve Cole.
Now, one thing I want to point out of interest in these is that each one of these books seems to feature one specific companion.
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice the Good Doctor has...
based on the covers especially.
Yes. That's what I mean, is that the covers each feature one of the companions. So I don't know if that just means that that particular companion's going to be a big deal in that particular book, or if they just decided, hey, look, we've got 3 books and 3 companions.
Mm-hmm.
One at a time.
It does mention that they're all supposed to appear in all of them, but that doesn't mean they'll all have an equal
Right.
role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't know if each one is like companion specific, but or companion emphasized, I should say.
I'm sorry, but for some reason the second book's title, Molten Heart, just strikes me as that should be some sort of 80s rock band song.
Yeah, well, if you look at it, it looks like they're on a planet that might be like exploding.
Or something,
Or-
yeah.
So
or have just like used that because it looks like it looks like the TARDIS is sitting right in the middle of this big like
fiery pillar. Yeah.
Yep.
Where are the heads? Or maybe that's why we only see half the TARDIS.
Yeah, the heads should be kicking in on that, and it should have kicked in before that. But
True.
Yeah, we'll have to see. The heads only ever seems to work when it's plot relevant.
Basically.
Very true.
Other than that, I really can't get much out of these. It looks like there's like frickin' Unicron in the Good Doctor there in the upper right-hand corner.
Yeah, that does look a bit like Unicron, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. And then looks like kind of a Greeky shield or something in Combat Magics.
And possibly some sort of Starfield thing going on behind them.
It looks like a constellation map or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea what's up with that. But no, I just wanted to point out that the fact that the 3 books, the covers were companion specific. We have mentioned these books before. These titles had come out listing shortly after the Jodie Whittaker announcement.
Mm-hmm.
But we hadn't mentioned them in months anyway, so it's good to bring them up because they should be due out soon.
Like within the week, I think.
Yeah, within like the same week of the premiere, I think. All right, so this moves us along to our Big Finish news. And the first piece of news is to celebrate 20 years of Bernice Summerfield. Big Finish has commissioned 6 full cast stories of Bernice in 2 box sets. Included are Ever After Happy by James Goss, and you have no idea.
I think we read out that part in the last.
We might have, but it's out now.
Okay.
The Grell Invasion of Earth by Jacqueline Rayner.
Mm-hmm.
Braxiatel in Love by Simon Gouillet. Every Dark Thought by Eddie Robson. Empress of the Dravens by David Llewellyn. The Angel of History by Una Cormick. Bernice Summerfield, the stories so far, volumes 1 and 2 are available now from Big Finish for £20 CD, £50 download per set. There, it will never come up again, Bill. And then coming soon from Big Finish, 7th Doctor Sylvester McCoy teams up with Roz Forrester and Chris Krebs in these adaptations of classic Virgin novel stories. We've announced this before, but I think we didn't have the episodes' names.
I don't think we had names.
Not all of them, at least.
Yep. The episodes are Trial of a Time Machine by Andy Lane, Vanguard by Steve Jordan, The Jabari Countdown by Alan Flanagan, The Dread of Night by Tim Foley. The 7th Doctor, The New Adventures, is due out in November 2018, so 2 months from Big Finish for £23 CD, £20 download.
You know what's definitely going to be a good thing about this? This many stories with Chris, there will definitely be a canon pronunciation of his last name by the time they're done.
Hopefully, yes.
Cross your fingers.
And then finally, unless of course it's one of those things where one actor announces it one way and another actor announces it another.
That's entirely possible.
I've heard that. I've heard
that's for the fan base. Face palms.
I've definitely heard that. Yeah.
All right. So December's entry into the main range is going to be a 6th Doctor solo adventure. In the Hunting Ground, the 6th Doctor teams up with Yrsa, played by Amy Beth Hayes, in Ireland to stop an alien that is sport hunting the human race.
Ooh.
The Hunting Ground is available for pre-order from Big Finish for £14.99 CD, £12.99 download.
I didn't know that they were doing a Predator adaptation.
I was about to say, it's somewhere in the forest to just hear, anytime.
Well, unless of course it's sport hunting, so it's more like fox hunting. I don't know. It just calls it sport or hunting humans for sport. So
that's pretty much what the Predators did.
Yeah, but it depends on if they're absolutely doing the I'm so alien I can't tell, or if they're going to make it look vaguely like British fox hunters, like they did on that one episode of Deep Space Nine.
All I know is if Arnold Schwarzenegger gets a cameo, it's getting some major side-eye from me.
Well, it's a 6th Doctor audio. You'd expect that from a 7th Doctor and Mel audio.
Still, he's got the blue and white outfit. He might actually be able to blend in and hide on the aliens.
All right, so that is all of our news this week. It's a light week for news. I think that the Doctor Who press machine is taking a slight breather before it goes into that last week. Yeah.
Yeah, getting ready for that storm. Here it comes.
We're not going to be there for that storm because after this we take a week off.
Taking a deep breath.
Well, the storm will be the aftermath of that episode, though.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this takes us to our Geek Talk section.
So Geek Talk. So we got quite a bit of time actually, don't we?
Oh yeah.
So actually, the first
I
got two things then I can actually cover really quick. The first one I'll cover should be pretty basic. Have any of you seen the leaked pictures for the upcoming Transformers movie?
I've seen a little of them. The fact that they looked like G1.
Yeah, they legit look like G1. They look amazing.
I mostly ignore Bayformers, so
I'm not sure if this is a Bayformer or not. I know it's supposed to be linked to that universe, but
is this from Bumblebee?
This is the Transformers Bumblebee movie, yeah.
Yeah, they were talking about this on Least I Could Do this week.
That is what it's called, the movie Bumblebee, right?
Uh-huh.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 20 years prior to the Michael Bay.
I'm trying to find the pictures on like an image search, and I'm not having any luck. Oh, here we go. I found a sound wave.
Okay, so yeah, the sound wave is the one I saw the most, and it looks like it's straight out of G1.
So I'm going to also share the picture in general chat for everyone on Discord, so you can see what we're talking about. That looks like a legit Transformer.
And Michael Bay is still a producer in this?
Still, he's a producer, and usually he's a better producer than he is a director, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. He's not directing it. It's directed by Travis Knight, and there's
so
four
he'll have
other
the same
people.
influence as he did on Turtle.
Yeah, he'll have the same influence that he did on the Turtles movies, which was the first one I hear was really meh. I hear the second one was actually improving.
I enjoyed the second one.
Also, Bumblebee will actually be a bug.
Yeah, will be a VW Beetle.
Yeah, he'll actually be a Beetle.
This pleases me.
Yes, we've seen Soundwave. We saw someone else. I can't remember all the names, but we also saw Optimus Prime. And Optimus Prime, I just jaw dropped when I saw him because it's so perfect.
Michael Bay seems the type to be like Punch Buggy and then sucker punch someone.
Well, this is supposed to take place in the 1980s, so it's supposed to take place
when they were supposed to look like that.
Yes.
When did Punch Buggy start?
Transformers Bumblebee.
It's just called Bumblebee.
Oh, just Bumblebee, so not even Transformers.
If you Google Bumblebee, you're just going to get the insect.
Yeah, I know. I wikied Bumblebee and then in parentheses film and got it.
Leaked photos, maybe.
Oh, okay. The Punch Buggy thing has started since the 60s, so it would definitely have been a thing.
I had removed this from my viewing list this year, and because the last one was
Because the last couple of them have been so bad, yeah.
Actually, I didn't mind the one before last, but the last one, it's like, oh god, you're throwing King Arthur into this shit. Fuck you.
I'm not having any luck. So actually, I'm gonna have to actually go to our Discord where I shared some of the photos, and I'll have to direct link them because I'm just not having any luck searching for them right now for no apparent reason. There we go.
Yeah. Because the movies have gone. Let's see. You had the original Transformers movie, which wasn't great but wasn't bad. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, it was all right. Yes. Yeah.
Then you got Revenge of the Fallen, which started out okay and just
ended in garbage.
Kind of lost. Yeah, it just slowly fell. Then you got to Dark of the Moon, which was pretty much garbage. Age of Extinction, which, like I said, was better than Dark of the Moon, but it was enough that it was watchable, but not enough that I would recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Last Night, which was Dark of the Moon grade garbage. and now you've got Bumblebee.
And Bumblebee is looking very much to be the, oh my god, yes, we need a savior, please come soon.
And none of them have ever gotten up to the glory which was Transformers the movie.
Yeah. The animated movie, I assume you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
When I say Transformers the movie, that is the animated movie from the 80s. As opposed to just Transformers, which was the first movie in the Michael Bay.
I've noticed lately, even when I say the original movie, half the people I'm talking to think I'm talking about Bayformers. That's very disappointing.
Well, yeah, it's like if I say Star Trek the motion picture, I'm referring to the 70s Star Trek movie. As opposed to if I just say the movie Star Trek, which was the 2007 movie.
I mean, like the equivalent of like if you said the first Star Trek movie, and everybody always assumed you meant 2009.
Yeah.
Or when you say Rambo.
That's why I always call it Star Trek the motion picture, and then I always say Transformers the movie when I mean the animated movie. Because that was the name of it, Transformers the movie. I remember, I gotta go see Transformers the movie, Mom!
Yeah, that's the title that appears in the credits.
Yep.
See, I remember later animated movies would get more ambitious, and they would be named things like the first movie.
Yeah. You know, there's a few of those that never made it to a second movie. God, I remember I had to go see Transformers the movie, but I couldn't get up the gumption to watch G.I. Joe the movie when it came out, and then they put it on TV anyway, so it was like, okay, whatever.
Okay, whatever. Fine, you get to see it here anyways.
But mind you, when I first saw Transformers the movie, I hated it. Not because it wasn't good, but because they killed all of my favorite characters.
Just gonna say, because they killed all your favorite characters in the first 10 minutes.
Yes. I'm like, Hound, no!
Like, I can't wait to see Optimus Prime get his happy ending.
Yeah.
But we still have Grimlock.
And none of that, they kill some of them off screen.
They all get sucked into a vortex and die. I'm just like, no. And then I rewatched it like 5 years later, and I'm like, this is actually a damn good movie. And I still say that when I ever see it again.
It's just super freaking dark for your childhood.
Yeah, you're used to the made for children TV show, and then you got your Transformers swearing and dying, and you're just like, oh. Yeah.
You just sit there shell shocked with your hair standing on end, just like, what the hell is this kid?
Well, I think Don Bluth toughened us all up in our childhoods.
Yes. Don Bluth, the master, who is still working on his Dragon's Lair movie. Please, Don, do it.
1986. I was 10.
I was 1.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't have remembered the movie had you gone to see it, Matt, in the theaters. I was 10. I went to go see this movie, and I was traumatized. Because this was right in the midst of my Transformers mania. I remember I couldn't get my mother to go see it at the regular theater, so I had to go see it at the 99-cent theater up that I could ride my bike to. All the seats were ripped. It was basically a giant health hazard. No AC. But I sat down and I watched this movie, and I was fucking traumatized. I remember I kind of lost interest in Transformers after that for a while.
Well, when you just see your greatest robotic hero just go gray in color and die on a lab table.
Yeah. So what was the other?
That's likely to shock you. So the other thing is a little more gaming based, and that alone might warn you guys what I'm about to go into here.
No,
so
not really.
Essentially, what happened is Nintendo created a shitstorm on Twitter. They decided to remake the Super Smash Bros. U. Not Super Smash Bros. U. Super Mario Bros. U game for the Switch. but they also wanted to add more content to it since they're going to be bringing it over to the Switch. So they added Toadette from the Toad's Adventures game, and they added a new power-up, which includes a crown which Toadette can collect and become more like Princess Peach.
Okay.
To which the internet exploded and created what is now known as Bowserette because someone just took the idea and ran with it.
I've seen a few names. Bowsette seems to be the most common, but Bowserette and a couple others.
Bowsette is definitely the big one because it's been 3 days of nothing but Bowsette photos all over Twitter.
I finally had to look it up.
I've seen a few of those
today to figure out.
And apparently, the stocks in Nintendo have raised faster than when they released the Switch.
Before I comment on that, do you want to explain what like the Bowsette comic originally is?
Okay, so yeah, there's originally a Bowsette comic, and I'm gonna try and find it really quick.
If you can't find it, it's on Know Your Meme.
I've just seen a few images from my regular artists on DeviantArt. That's all I've seen.
Let me see if I can. I'm trying to get the picture itself. Come on. Why aren't you letting me take this as a picture? It's part of a collection, so it's not like acting normally for some reason. Like I right-click on it, it doesn't say just open picture.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, Jolly Jack had to contribute to the meme in his own Jolly Jack visual horror way.
Okay. But essentially, there's a picture where Peach is in a wedding dress. Both Mario and Bowser are there with different flowers, and she says no to them, walks off, and as the two of them are sitting there, Bowser suddenly pulls out a crown, and in the last frame, you see Mario walking with essentially a Bowserized Peach, as Peach suddenly stops in the middle of playing tennis with Luigi and just looks stunned. I'm going to... I wish it was just the one picture, because when it's in a collection, they don't let you actually just get the individual pictures. And I've been seeing a lot of the collections, but I haven't seen a lot of the original picture by itself.
If you go to the link I posted and you scroll down a few inches, it shows the original comic. You can right-click it and view it as an image. Or view it in its own tab. At least in Chrome.
But so this
link address. Okay.
So this hasn't cost as so this is like the internet furor that happened after they announced Linkle for
basically as big if not bigger, because it's gotten even crazier. At this point, not only have the fans been saying to Nintendo, "Hey, if you let us, we'll help you design the character officially." Manga artists in Japan have been approaching Nintendo apparently about it.
The interesting thing about this, and I mentioned this on somebody else's post earlier today, is that at least by U.S. copyright law, especially with this becoming so big as a fan-made product, basically Nintendo can't touch it. I don't know about Japanese copyright law, which is more applicable here, but that's usually a little stricter on fan productions and may give more rights to the original creator, which might mean Nintendo can actually use it. But at least going off U.S. law, Nintendo can't even acknowledge Bowsette at this point.
Apparently, yeah.
Pretty much, or they could be sued for any profit they make off of it by the creator.
By the creator of this original webcomic, yeah.
I'm kind of wondering how much stocks are going to plummet when the public catches on to that fact that this will.
When this might not be able to go anywhere, yeah.
Yeah.
That really depends.
In a Nintendo game.
It really depends, and it really depends if Nintendo actually decides, you know what, there's enough interest in this, we should actually go after it too.
That depends too. I mean, they can legally if they decide that they would make enough out of it, Nintendo could legally purchase the rights to it.
They could, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they probably could give the web artist enough money that he won't complain ever. So.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of also depends on who's responsible for that and whether, they're somebody like one of the more open and willing to explore new ideas execs, or one of like the stick in the muds who are just going to get pissed off that people are popularizing fan art, which is apparently a thing in Japan where just creators will just get, start legally going after anyone who makes fan art and having it taken down.
Which they've had their hands slapped for trying to do in America, so.
Yeah.
It really depends on what they decide to do, because I've seen them go both ways on that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where they just like, this is an idea, we could make money off of this idea. Crunch the numbers on how much it would cost to purchase the rights, and if we'd still make a profit. Yes, we would do it. There's that.
Although I'm wondering what they might be able to do is if they introduced a new character whose origin is not explained like most of the princesses, but it has some connection to Bowser and is named like Princess Koopa or something.
I was just
they
thinking that.
Get away with
it. Just do their own variant of it and call it Princess Koopa or something to that effect.
Yeah. Except now we've said it first. Ha ha.
Now they can't legalize that because we've got the rights to it. So ha.
And then we get a C&D in the mail, and
then we give them this video because we beat them to it.
Yeah. Hey, look, it was September 26th. We were already talking about this.
By the way, also not only just fan art, but there are women already going full-blown cosplays for this.
Oh, I believe it.
Everybody that's even slightly artistic has gone crazy with coming up with ideas for this now.
One of the biggest Comic-Cons is in, a month or two? I'm sure
there's probably going to be dozens of them there, yeah.
Matt?
Yeah. New York Comic-Con is next week.
Is it next? Oh,
Matt, if it exists, there is cosplay of it.
Just about.
Yeah, that should be a new internet rule.
Yeah,
there's one that I don't know of.
It would almost be like the Rule 34 colliery.
Yeah, 34-A.
Mm-hmm. Actually, probably -Z by now.
Mm.
If it exists, there is cosplay of it.
Oh yeah, I've seen also various ets that have been popping out too because they've done it to various villains in Mario now. They've done it to a couple of the other main characters, and I've also noticed a Sonic and Tails one, which is like, okay.
I saw one today where they just kept going along in a loop where it's like, oh, they saw this, so Luigi went and found King Boo and put the crown on, and
Booette. And then there's one where they just added a sequel to that now, where Waluigi sees that and does that to a Chain Chomp.
Chain Chomp, yep. And then there's Wario in the background, so I'm sure somebody is
going to work on that Wario, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a Ridley one from Metroid.
Yeah, this won't end for a while.
Yep, this is going to be a craze for a while, because Nintendo just literally walked into Pandora's box.
Yeah, the thing is, it's a meme, so, memes will eventually cool.
Yeah, but this is an extraordinarily large one. Like, I hear about memes, but they never flood my inbox on Twitter like this one has.
So, mind you, Jolly Jack makes his career out of taking internet memes and making them horrible.
Okay.
I mean, he basically trolls on his DeviantArt account. It's kind of what he does. This is his take on that.
Oh, this is not the Jolly Jack which I'm showing here, folks. This is a different video I found. I don't know why it's not playing like it was before, but whatever. Let me see here. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah. Okay. Now that I've broken your mind, or now that Jolly Jack has.
Broken my mind, nah. That's just an oh dear moment.
He loves to take those active memes and just crush people's souls with them.
So is there time for you to give first impressions of the Gifted premiere?
I can do that.
Sure.
So yeah, the Gifted premiered on Fox last night, and it is following directly off the season 1 finale. Things are in a really dark place. Who here has actually watched season 1 of The Gifted?
I have.
Okay, so you remember where we kind of left off with...
Yeah, it was kind of like a game-changing moment.
one of the siblings, the brother, had left to go join the Hellfire Club, as had Polaris. And they've skipped ahead a few months. People are still looking for them, and basically her baby's due. So that's kind of where it basically winds up in this. And yeah, things aren't looking well. It was acted pretty well. The direction was nice. It's following this dark tone that started at the end of the last episode fairly well. And it's kind of interesting to see where this is going to go. I enjoyed it. I had trouble watching it because it was in the middle of a freaking thunderstorm. And it kept interfering with my broadcast, so I'm going to want to rewatch that. Probably on Fox streaming later this week.
Yeah, usually the websites have at least the newest episode of a random show on there.
Mind you, there's nothing I just told you about this that wasn't told in the first 5 minutes of the episode. So it's not like I did spoilers or anything. Literally it's the first 5 minutes of the episode. And it's interesting where they're going on this. I'm going to enjoy trying to keep track and watching it Tuesday nights and see where this particular path takes us. See more of what they have in store for what the Hellfire Club has in store for everybody, because apparently they're working on a plan.
Aren't they always?
The details of this plan, I don't know, but we'll see. I enjoyed the first season of The Gifted, and this looks to be following it up pretty well. I can't compare it with anybody because apparently Bill hasn't seen it yet. So, well, I'll keep you guys in touch on what we see on it.
Was there something else?
I only watched the premiere of Lethal Weapon after that, which isn't really sci-fi, but it is kind of geeky. Which I mentioned earlier, they've killed Martin Riggs.
Which season is this now?
3.
Season 3. I was gonna say it's more than 1 too.
Yeah, this is season 3. They've killed Martin Riggs because the actor that was playing him apparently was a giant douche on set. Just absolutely refused to work well with.
Did they replace him with a turd sandwich?
No. But he had some issues, so they fired him, and they've replaced him with, I guess, what I could call a Riggs clone. He has a few separate issues from Riggs. For one, this guy's more of a family man. Although he's been a little lackluster, but he's trying to be better. He's not the alcoholic that Riggs was, because that was like the beginning of every Lethal Weapon episode, the second season. Oh, look, Riggs is drunk again. It kind of became a one-note thing, and he never really seemed to improve. And this guy, I haven't seen him drink to excess yet. And he does seem to still have that same Riggsy way of dealing with things, which you kind of need to kind of work off of Murtaugh and to actually have a functional Lethal Weapon storyline. There were some unrealistic things about this, because apparently the guy was a former special forces and had just joined the police force. It was literally his first day in the beginning of the first episode.
Yeesh. Okay.
But he makes detective by the end of the first story.
Okay.
That's not realistic.
No, that was like the 2009 Star Trek movie where Kirk goes from ensign to captain over the course of 2 hours.
Oh, wait, that wasn't realistic?
Nope.
Hearing going in and out, or is Randy's voice?
It's not Randy, so.
Okay, so it's me.
Yep.
I think it might be raining here, so I might have issues.
You're getting the storm now.
Here comes the rain again.
Prepare for it to cool down, Bill.
Nice. I hope so.
I had to close my freaking windows because it was freaking freezing in the house. But no, I am.
So I take it the new guy's the one with the mustache and the slick back hair?
No, that was the original Riggs.
Oh.
That was my other issue with him is the fact that remember if the original Riggs was a Californian originally, he was from like San Diego or something, and moved up to L.A. after the death of his wife in the original movies with Mel Gibson.
So that's original Riggs, and he's actually still in the artwork for season 3. So what's the new guy?
Let me see. Let me see. Let me see if I can find images. Yeah, they're still using the original, the basic lethal weapon thing. Okay, so let me get to a open image in a new tab. This is the original duo from seasons 1 and 2.
Okay.
This, and let me get this out here, is the new pairing. Same guy on the left, different guy on the right.
Okay, I think I've seen 1 or 2 images of the new guy.
Yeah, well, mind you, he's been in all one episode thus far.
Yeah, but you'd think there'd be like more pre-release stuff, like pre-planned images or something from them before it released, but
unless they were all in production before they made the cast change.
Like I said,
which if that's true, then it must have been a hell of a last-minute cast change.
It was not a last-minute cast change. He got fired shortly after the end of season 2.
Oh yeah, so that's just
like within a month.
Being lazy.
Yeah, that's lazy marketing, not telling us that the guy got switched. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So that's the mind you, it was at least a month or two before we heard who the replacement was, but we knew that the first guy on the right had gotten fired within like 2 weeks after the finale of season 2. And so now we got this guy. Like I said, he's a little bit different in his background, but he still tends to solve stuff in that Martin Riggs way. The thing is, we haven't seen these two fully click yet. Although it is enough that apparently Murtaugh asked him to be promoted to detective and to be his partner. So
he's apparently seen something in the guy, but we haven't actually seen it ourselves yet as a viewer.
We've not really we've seen one scene of him basically doing a Riggs bit. But there's some points where he holds back. It's like, I can't do this, we have to follow the rules on this. And Murtaugh's like, I guess you're not the person I thought you were. But then he goes around, then he reverses that later. So we'll have, again, this is one of those things that we're going to have to see the buddy cop relationship develop between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always my problem with the guy they got to play Murtaugh, which is one of the Wayans brothers. I freaking love him as Murtaugh. He does a great job as Murtaugh. I was never fully sold on the guy that they got to play Riggs.
Okay.
I don't know if it was their decision to change where he was from, or just a little bit of personality quirks. There were moments where it was like pure Riggs and Murtaugh, and then there were moments where they were dealing with his personal life where it's just like
meh.
Yeah, I'm hoping this new guy is a little more like classic movie Riggs in the fact that he's like that, even though his name is not Riggs, but he has to pull off that same level of functional crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was my problem with the original Riggs in this show, was the fact that he kind of pulled off the crazy, but kind of went too far into the not functional level a few times. So I'm gonna hold out hope. I'm gonna watch a few more episodes, see how this plays out.
See if it eventually clicks.
See if they eventually find a pace. Because that was the thing. After like the first 4 or 5 episodes of the original Lethal Weapon, they developed a pace. and it developed a feel, and it began to feel like watching Lethal Weapon. I still highly recommend to Lethal Weapon fans, if you've got Netflix or whatever this is on, watch the first season of this on Netflix, and then give it a few episodes, because the first one, it's going to be like, oh, this feels like it. Now it doesn't. About 5 or 6, it suddenly finds its footing, and bam, off it goes. And it continues that way through season 2. And then now they're kind of having to struggle to find their pace again because of a new actor.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how it goes.
They had a soft break.
Okay, so now it's time for us to do our review.
Yay! Review.
So who wants to summarize?
I don't think I've gone in a while, but I think it's my turn anyway.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's close to your turn anyway, so all right. Whenever you're ready, Tim.
Okay, so the 6th Doctor is somewhere, and some guy says, "You're sad," and like, no, I'm thinking about something. And then we flash back to the Doctor and Charlie arrive on Earth. It's like, so the Doctor says, "Here we are on Earth in 1930. Oh, wait, something's wrong. Wrong. I'm not getting the readings of right. Radiation bad." And they look around, and the Doctor and Charlie are attacked by a group of savage people, and they say, "Get to the chopper." No, they don't say that. But however, there is a helicopter in this episode. And so the Doctor and Charlie are separated, and the Doctor is in a compound, and I'm totally messing this up. Give me a second. So Charlie is in a compound. The Doctor is in a camp full of really aggressive, savage people, and they learn that this is Earth in the future. That's so far in the future that they've actually forgotten what year it is. Because for some reason, mankind just forgot everything one day, and they don't know why. But it has something to do with the aliens up above them looking down, and they're called the Virans. And it turns out that the Virans are trying to wipe out a virus with the help of Charlotte Pollard, which is another Charlotte Pollard. And it turns out that the madness that overcame humanity to that made them forget civilization was an attempt to cure the virus, but then the aliens just say, screw it, and they decide to wipe out humanity. But then the Doctor says, that's a dumb idea. And he discovers that the cure for the virus is time travel. How convenient. And there's also something about the two. One, Charlie, was actually a mutated another person, and they and it's decided that in order for the human race to be saved, the Doctor has to forget about any memory of the virus, and so his memory is erased, and Charlie Charlie sacrifices herself, and it's like, which one is it? It doesn't matter. And well, that's the thing I get. And and so this is how Charlie and the Doctor are separated for the second time or the first time, depending on how you look at the timeline. I mean, so yeah. I'm sorry. I think
you completely lost your steam.
Yeah. I lost my steam.
Well, I'll help you summarize that last tidbit. Essentially, the Doctor's trying to put this time warp thing around Earth so he can get rid of the virus. The fake Charlie sacrifices herself. The real Charlie still left behind and just helps decide the final memories the Doctor's going to have when he's mind wiped, and he remembers the other Charlie with her apparently original name, and that's pretty much how they end it, with the Doctor remembering her, and the real Charlie still stuck up in the spaceship, being questioned what she's planning to do now by the alien race that tried to get rid of the virus.
Alrighty.
5 minutes 7 seconds, by the way.
Oh.
All right.
We just barely ended it in time.
That was better than I thought.
Okay. So now we go to what we liked about the episode, and Matt, you're up first again.
I'm up first again. The dice are just rolling me lately.
Well,
okay.
Well, mind you, it's a D6 divided by third, so you're like 3 and 4. Kind of average dice rolls.
Okay, yeah, I think that's. I'm not sure where Bill got that other image, but okay, I'm just gonna pull up this image for now. Like half of this, there's like a grand total of like 2 images I can find on DuckDuckGo for this. I'll just hold on that for a while. So overall thing I liked about it then.
Yep.
I don't know if I assume these aliens were introduced before. I can't remember their name.
The Virans.
The Virans. I assume they were introduced in a previous story.
Yes, one of the ones we didn't pay attention to.
Okay. Well, this is my first introduction to them, and they seem to be a pretty interesting alien race. They're not there to just like kill, murder everything. It's kind of a last resort if they can't logically think of another reason to help wipe out a virus that they're apparently assigned to get rid of. And I will say that I only had like the faintest glimpse of one image, and it was just me quickly getting past the title card and getting the audio set up. And the image I had was maybe a little bit more bulkier and a little bit more sizable compared to what they show in a lot of the art here, but it was pretty close. So they did so their sound guys did a really good job of making them sound like how they look. Basically.
So, interesting little tidbit here. The Virans, the Virians, whatever they are, originally were a character created in they're a race created by Nicholas Briggs, by the way.
Okay.
It was originally in his short story No One Died, which was in the Doctor Who storybook 2007. And was a 10th Doctor and Rose story.
Oh.
Wow. So this was originally a race created for the Doctor and Rose via books.
Yeah, that I never knew. I knew they had appeared in at least 2 audios, because I think they were introduced with Perry.
So they're unofficially official because
of the first audio that I heard of them anyway.
So they're very highly unofficially official because of Nick Briggs himself.
They're not nowhere near official, but
well, they've been included in stories that, well, again, detached, but are supposedly part of Doctor Who.
No, the Doctor Who storybook is just a bunch of non-canonical short stories. It's not.
Well, Nick Briggs has still brought them back, and apparently they've done pretty well. They could keep coming back.
They were in Patient Zero, which was the story prior to this with Charlie.
Okay.
They were in an audio called The Variant Solution, which apparently was in the Charlotte Pollard series, so they would plague Charlie some more later.
The Charlotte Pollard series, I don't think it's a spoiler to say it starts off with her the same way this audio starts, with her doing missions for the Virans.
So they gave more details on stuff. Okay.
Mission of the Virans was apparently an audio story in the main range, 102B, which was the 5th Doctor and Perry.
That's probably the one that I heard.
And then they were in the audio urgent calls, which was 94B. So they were even before that, which was a Sixth Doctor. I think a Sixth Doctor solo adventure.
A Fifth Doctor, a couple of Sixth Doctor stuff. Okay.
Urban Myths 95B, which was a Fifth Doctor and Perry.
Some more Fifth Doctor.
The Vanity Box 97, Sixth Doctor and Mel. The Wishing Beast, also Sixth Doctor and Mel. And that's the only one. The White Room, which was an Eighth Doctor part of Dark Eyes. So they're apparently
so 5, 6, and 8 Doctor Nemesis. All right.
And Charlie Pollard.
And Charlie Pollard, because she's now her own thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they're apparently a Big Finish regular.
Cool. Interesting. It was a Nicholas Briggs idea that worked. Huzzah!
Yeah.
New villain. And they're interesting because they're not just not your usual like Dalek stable of villain. It's like they actually have like a good thing they're trying to do. It's just that their programming is a little bit hinky in spots.
Mind you, I'm looking at a picture. I'm looking at a picture of them from from No One Died, and they kind of look like the Juggernaut in spacesuits.
Do this really quick. And what were they called again?
Virians. VIYRAN.
VIYRAN. Oh wow, yeah, I've seen some of that too. The Juggernaut with their domed heads and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And there you are for those of you in the stream. There's a picture of the Virans. Although it's interesting is the sound effect Nicholas Briggs uses for them was apparently reused for the jailers in the 11th Hour. That one voice speaking as many with that same no,
Okay, interesting. Yeah, could be Nicholas Briggs trying to make his own little secret tie-in.
Yeah, well, it's obvious that the things in the 11th Hour weren't Virans, but still, yeah.
At least as far as we're led to believe, yeah.
So anyway, you were saying what you liked about it?
I just liked the way they made them. Their sound effects were tied in really well to how the characters were actually designed. Left a really good mental image, and they were interesting for being villains, for not just being your normal, really bland, kill everything villains. They're like they at least have a logical reason, even if the logic is slightly flawed.
Okay, Tim.
In the episode, I really liked the voice acting overall. Especially, I like the sound of the Virans, as well as Colin Baker and India Fisher's vocal performances. And I thought that for once there was enough of distinction between the supporting characters that I was able to tell who was speaking without someone being addressed by name. So the only exception to that was a bit of confusion with the two Charlies.
Yeah, I'll talk about that later. All right, Bill.
So I'm going to say India Fisher. I think she does a very good job distinguishing between the more experienced and kind of weary Charlie and the younger sounding, more like eager Mila, who sounds kind of like Charlie, like when she first started traveling with the Doctor. And the only time where I think they really blur together is at the end when they kind of like reconcile and are calling each other Charlie and are being friends. And even before that, when they speak to each other or when they speak to others, their voices are generally pretty distinct, where you can always tell which one's talking.
For the most part.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to have to pass because Bill stole mine.
Yeah. I thought someone was going to take mine, especially when Tim said voice acting. I was like, oh no, but then he said in general. I'm like, okay.
In general, okay.
All right, so let's move ahead to what we disliked about the episode. And Matt, you are
disliked. I have to pass for the moment. I can't really think of anything that totally pulled me out of it.
All right.
I wonder if I'm going to steal Randy's again.
You're looking forward to it, aren't you? All right, Tim.
I just have to talk about what I have to talk about.
Okay, towards the end with like the mind erasures and the two Charlies and like trying to figure out like where the Virons are. This I had a hard time following this. Like especially trying to figure out like what Charlotte was which, and like I kept getting drawn out of the story, like trying to figure out like think back like so which Charlotte was traveling with the Doctor? Was it the real Charlotte or the fake Charlotte? Like, and so that was kind of disconcerting for me.
The real Charlotte was traveling with the Doctor when we last saw her, but somewhere during that process she was replaced by the fake one, by Mira. Who?
And it sounds like it was in the audio Patient Zero.
Yeah.
Which we haven't listened to.
Actually, yeah, I'm gonna butt in here because I think I just remembered one thing that did take me out of it was I was waiting for an explanation as to why the double Charlies and why the one with the Virons was there and why she wasn't with the Doctor anymore. And I never really got a satisfactory answer, and almost into the very end, and they started to at least cover it slightly. And I'm like, a bit more detail. You never even finished the details. Whatever. Apparently, it's a missing audio I haven't heard, which is slightly annoying.
Yeah. It's one of those all there in the manual type things.
Mm-hmm.
It's you've had to pay attention to the entire season to understand what's going on.
This is why I hate that we hopped around the season. Shoot.
All right. Anyway, Tim, you were saying, or were you done?
Yeah, the it's just like it would have been better to have a better explanation of like who Mila was within the episode itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about it.
For the for those of us not playing at home, yeah. It would have been nice to know, just for those of us that hadn't listened to Patient Zero.
Mm-hmm.
But and here's the fun part about Mila is I explained her a bit to you guys last week.
Yeah, I think it was after we turned the stream off.
Yep. She's a character that apparently they've ad hoc as having lived in the TARDIS since the chase, but the Doctor never knew. So she's lived through 5 incarnations of the Doctor. She's lived hundreds of years in the TARDIS. And to get physical form, she basically steals Charlie's.
And makes no logical sense.
Yeah, it's a bunch of
It kind of sounds like VNA stuff.
Yeah, it is a touch VNA. I think that's why we got on the subject of the Virgin novels after the stream last time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was talking, I posted a synopsis from one of the Doctor Who novels to these guys, and they're just like, "Wow, that's really sharp jumpy," and that's kind of what this feels like. Is they jumped the shark a bit when they introduced Mila, and it's just kind of like,
And so this last episode was technically them course correcting a bit.
No, I mean this was them trying to bring that plot line to a head. They introduced her for this episode. I mean, her whole appearance in Patient Zero was leading up to this episode.
Mm.
It's just one of those things that's just like, why? And I blame Nicholas Briggs. Anyway, Bill, what did you like the least?
McBloody Callister and his incessant, every 5 seconds, I don't understand what's going on. And it's like, you could have said, oh, don't run with your shoelaces untied. I don't understand. Explain it to me. And I understand that he's a representative of a devolved human race and might not be as intelligent as your average audience surrogate, but you could have at least picked the woman who was in charge when he wasn't there, who at least had some basic competence to put 2 and 2 together, whereas he didn't even seem to have that. There was one part, the part when they were on trying to explain things on the Viren ship, and he just had to stop them every 30 seconds to scream about how he didn't understand basic logic or basic continuity of events.
Mm-hmm.
And it just was like someone sock him in the mouth.
Hulk annoyed by puny brain talk. Hulk smash.
And he wasn't even sick. He was the one who, if anyone, would have had the cure the whole time.
I had some serious Harry Sullivan flashbacks listening to him.
So, Tim was the one that actually stole mine in this one. Is the fact that I found the plot line to be confusing and derived and just kind of what the hell. The fact that they've made this audio so specifically you had to have listened to Patient Zero to fully comprehend what's going on annoys me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially since this is a companion leaving episode, so this is a key episode. Key episodes should be able to stand on their own.
Yeah, you should be able to make sure that everyone can follow what the hell's going on.
It makes sense for it to be the conclusion of an arc, but there should be enough clues sprinkled throughout it to, kind of wrap up, especially considering that, in theory, listeners would have listened to Patient Zero at least a month earlier if they were subscribers.
2 months.
2 months earlier in that case. Okay.
Patient Zero was released number 124. Blue Forgotten Planet was released number 126. In between is Paper Cuts, which was number 125 and was also a Sixth Doctor and Charlie.
Or Sixth Doctor
Charlie.
Mila, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually lists her as being Mila in the cast list.
Gotcha.
So, it would have been, let's see, this would have come out September 2009. Blue Forgotten Planet was October. Oh no, they both came out September 2009. Patient Zero came out August 2000. So it would have been a month because they apparently released 2. It was a 2 for a month apparently. That year, so they released Patient Zero in August and Paper Cuts and Blue Forgotten Planet in September. So, yeah, you would have heard Patient Zero a month prior. And this was what? This was them writing 2009. Huh? This was just this was 10 years ago for Big Finish, or 9 years ago. think they would have had 10 years worth of writing under their belt. They would have known a little better than to do that. But
apparently
they might
not.
they might have been trying to make Doctor Who more like but the audio adventures more like the actual Doctor Who series at that point, where they were following an overarching plot line.
Mm-hmm.
And they hadn't quite worked on overarching plot lines yet, so it kind of face slapped.
A little bit.
It's one thing that's interesting about that is this is after 2005. So before 2005, Big Finish seemed, based on BTS and other things, to have this general assumption that all of their audience had been fans since the 80s and were just, they had followed through the VNAs and continued to Big Finish. Whereas after 2005, they had more of this awareness that, there might be people who had not been listening since 1999 picking up audios for the first time, so they should have been a little more aware of the need to make things accessible.
Yeah. That's also because this was in the main range. It's perfectly possible for anybody to start paying attention to the main range at any point. So if you just happen to start subscribing in September of 2009, oops.
You're extremely freaking confused like some of us are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's just, what the hell, guys.
Anyway, so that was that yours, Randy?
That was mine for what I liked the least. Favorite scene.
Yeah, favorite
Matt.
scene. I'm trying to pare it down a bit. I'll go with the scene of the two Charlies talking to each other outside the TARDIS near the end of the last episode.
Okay.
I just like the fact that after everyone else is out of the room, the two of them are finally forced to talk, and they start to actually genuinely like each other.
They at least the fact that Charlie Classic gets a bit of empathy there for Charlie Zero, and
Charlie Zero starts to understand why the original Charlie might be a bit pissed off at her running off with the Doctor like she did.
Yeah. All right. So Tim, how about you?
I got a bit emotional at the first scene where the Doctor says goodbye to Mila, and he says, "I'll check on you," and Mila says, "Oh, you'll mean to, but you'll get caught up in something, and you'll get caught up in showing the universe to someone else, and that's the way it should be." Like the scene immediately before when the Viren says to Charlie, "And this is the fiction you want." I thought this scene was a very powerful, moving scene.
All right. Bill?
Okay. All right. So, my audio was cutting in and out, so I apologize if I'm saying the same thing Matt said because I couldn't hear a word he said. But I'm going to go with the scene where Charlie and Mila finally reconciled.
Same scene.
That is the same scene.
Where they were able to finally see each other's point and come and see each other as Charlies instead of as rivals.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we went over why we enjoyed that particular scene.
Gotcha.
I was referring to them as Charlie Classic and Charlie Zero, by the way.
Ha! Nice.
Yeah, that's a Coca-Cola reference. I thought about it.
Yeah, that is why I was using it. That was a Coca-Cola reference.
Any other scenes, Bill, or just going to agree with me?
I would say that's the only, I don't think any other scene is very close to that one, except maybe the immediately following scene where they burst in on the TARDIS and they're like, "Yeah, forget what you want. We're gonna help you not die."
Mm-hmm. That's good companions do.
Yeah. So my favorite scene is simultaneously the first scene from the first episode and the last scene from the last episode. Because I like the fact that they wrote that first scene with the last scene in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And just the fact that when you first hear it, you think he's talking about Charlie. And then it discovers that he's talking about Mila, or,
Or the
memory he has of Mila.
That, that Charlie had the Virens compiled between her and Mila.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a nice touch that they put in.
It's, well, not quite the same as with Clara. Kind of different.
It is and it isn't. But yeah, I'm wondering if a little bit of that was inspired by
maybe just a touch.
What by this, but know that assumes that Moffat still listens to all of the Big Finish audios.
Yeah. Not guarantee there.
True.
All
right, so least favorite scene, and Matt, you are first.
Least favorite scene. I'm kind of annoyed with the fact that Captain Kill Crazy is always Captain Kill Crazy, even when he's on his Think Clearly drugs.
The security chief.
Yeah, the security chief guy for the for whatever place that is, the place where the people that get the doctors and scientists are.
It's not Doctor Who if there's not a Kill Crazy military officer.
Yeah, but this one in particular was really needless.
Unless it's a unit story.
Unless it's a unit story, in which case the captain might actually be a decent guy who's just trying to hold back the monsters for a minute.
In which case the doctor spends an hour lecturing the brigadier on how bullets don't solve every problem.
And then he solves it with bullets.
5 rounds rapid. But I will say that the guy does redeem himself by helping the others to get away, I think, technically. But for the majority of the story, though, he's just really graining on my nerves.
All right. Tim.
Going back to what Bill mentioned, just like the scene where McAllister is just utterly confused, and
you may have to be more specific.
Okay. Or the scene where it's revealed that the madness was caused by the Virens, and he's just like, oh. That was like just like a facepalm moment for me.
All right, Bill.
So I'm going to go with this is, I think, the first scene when McAllister is introduced, and they're just like building up. Like, are you going to tell him? No. Are you going to tell him? You got to tell him. Someone's got to tell him. Are you going to tell me?
Somebody say something dumb.
Like they're building up for like something so big, and it's like
they stole our drugs.
It's important to them, but the way they reveal it is not in a way that gives any sort of emotional impact for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a conflict. Needed so much build-up.
Slowly shrug shoulders and look annoyed at the writers, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so my least favorite scene? Well, I know how to cure the human race by breaking every law of time imaginable. Seriously, how many laws of time? Let's see. You'd think, well, it seems like, you were exposed to time travel, so therefore you couldn't get the virus and were cured. So let's flood the entire planet with Artron radiation. Probably would have been a better solution. Instead, let's pretty much violate the laws of time by going back and preventing the entire thing from happening in the first place. Which Yeah, causes a paradox, by the way, in case you didn't know. I thought as a Time Lord you're supposed to prevent paradox.
Space is warped and time is bendable. Whee!
Yeah, it's just, absolutely, this is one of those things where the Doctor would have been like, no, I can't do that. I want to do it, but I can't.
I can't Superman this shit.
And instead he Supermans this shit. Yeah, it just absolutely irked me. That, you know, they've established the web of time as being a thing that you have to fix or you have to keep from breaking, and then he fucking breaks it.
Yeah, 8 just groans on and on and on about the web of time, and 6 is just like, pah.
Web of time, bleh. What the hell?
He say?
Web this time, reverse ho.
He has to break all the laws of time because something doesn't feel right about Charlie.
Face palm, throw writer in the garbage.
That sounds like a Moffat reasoning right there.
Yeah.
In
Moffat!
fact, isn't that pretty much the 11th Doctor and Clara right there? Something's not right about her, so I'm going to do everything in my power, including being a creepy stalker. Yeah.
I've watched you in your childhood.
But yeah, it just absolutely pissed me off that they've established the web of time as a thing, and then they basically do everything that you're not supposed to do to fix this.
Freaked out Vixie in the chat. By the way, Vixie's in the chat.
So that's what I hated. It absolutely bothered me. All right, so that's our least favorite scenes. Now we're up to our final thoughts.
Oh dear, final thoughts. Okay.
And you're first, Matt.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Final thoughts. There's some once again there seems to be some story elements that need to be tweaked, or at least some explanations given a little bit better than what they were given in this particular story. And also there's just some story reworkings that just need to be done. This doesn't quite mesh up right with some of the rest of how these characters are supposed to act, at least for the main 2 or 3. And not to mention, one of those main 3 jumped a big freaking shark off screen for us. So wow. Otherwise, I would say the rest of it, the voice acting is really solidly done. The sound effects were really great. Added an extra layer for me, at least, at certain points. The basic plot is at least followable and understandable, and they at least come to some sort of idea. But some of the ideas that they do use to finish off the story are where it falls apart, sadly. But then there are some real emotional moments that also kind of worked in this story. So there's a big hodgepodge of really good and really dumb.
All right. Well. Tim?
I think that the main problem with this episode is that it should be able to stand on its own, but there is serious continuity lockout. But the performances was great. I loved the voices of the Virans as well as the alien being from the first and last scenes.
Mm-hmm. He was interesting sounding too.
Yeah. As well as Colin Baker's performance. And the story itself was an intriguing one, so that got my attention.
By the way, point of order. For once, the aliens were not voiced by Nick Briggs, even though he wrote the episode. Both the Virans and the alien that you're talking about were voiced by Michael Maloney.
Of course Nick Briggs wrote the episode. It requires resolution with a time paradox. I should have known. Only 2 writers that I know of always end the episode with a time paradox, and one of them doesn't write audios.
Moffat?
Would the other one his initials happen to be SM?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, go on, Tim. I just wanted to point that out because I had assumed that the aliens and the Virans were played by Nick Briggs, and I was
so it's one of their other alien voice actors, I assume.
Apparently.
Okay.
Either that or a guest actor. Either way.
One and two.
Yeah, I think I've had my say.
Okay. Bill?
So yeah, I think Tim said most of what I would want to say. The biggest problem is that you pretty much need to have listened to the whole trilogy to get it. Otherwise, I think it's solidly made. There is that annoying character. But yeah, the performances are great. The plot's a little confusing, but I think if you weave in the continuity, the confusion I think is mostly gone, because on a second listen, I had no problem following once I actually knew who Mila was.
I really wanted to listen to it a second time and couldn't.
And yeah, I think that's about all there is to say.
All right.
It did give me an urge to listen to Charlotte Pollard Volume 1 again, so there's that.
So there are a couple of things I like, but unfortunately it was drowned out by a lot of things I don't like. I don't like the fact that you're required to listen to an audio before this one to fully understand what was going on. They didn't summarize for you or anything, or at least not properly.
Mm-hmm.
The story was a bit convoluted with the two Charlotte Pollards. It became a bit confusing sometimes to try to figure out which one was what one and what one is who. A couple of the characters were annoying, and they had to end it on a fucking reset button, which I absolutely despise because it is such a freaking cop-out. And I think this is the third or fourth Nick Briggs audio that has done that to me, and it annoys me to no end. At least this time it didn't actually come with a device with a button labeled reset. No.
No, he's not as bad as Moffat.
But still, there's... I did not like these as much as I liked some of the previous Charlie audios we had heard, so I'm honestly a little disappointed. Ratings! Matt. Our final ratings for the season.
Final ratings for the season. By the way, we have, for reminder for everybody, we have next week off from this.
Yeah, I was going to explain that next week. Or I was going to explain that at the end.
Explain it next week when nobody's around.
Nobody will be streaming.
Yeah, I was going to explain that next week. I wasn't going to stream. I was just going to speak aloud randomly.
No show today.
What the hell?
The voice acting really pushes this one for me, but at the same time, there's some dullard ideas that kind of ruin some of the plot. And to add on the mishmash of a bit of confusion too. I think I'm still stuck at a 3.5 on this one. It's not mediocre because of the voice acting, but it's not good because of some of the plot hiccups.
All right.
And I will agree with Matt.
Did you give it a number?
I said 3.5.
3.5, okay. Sorry, I was trying to do some quick math on here. All right, 3.5. All right, and you said you were going to agree?
Yeah, 3.5.
Bill?
So I've been fluctuating between 3 and 3.5, but I think India's acting is enough to bump it up to 3.5.
I have to disagree with you, Bill, because I have to offset it by the horrible ending of Time Loop.
I think you feel more strongly about those sort of endings than I do, so that makes sense.
So I'm going to give it a 3.0, and that's being generous for me. And that will give the average a 3.4. So 3.4 is not going to be that high, but it's going to be higher than I thought it would be.
A lot of it was really good. It's just that there's some major flaws in some of the ways to try to end it. And again, because of the previous episode hiccup.
3.4, Blue Forgotten Planet comes out at number 189 out of 263 things reviewed.
Oof.
It is on par with Night of the Whisper, The Faceless Ones, Silver Nemesis, ouch.
Ouch.
Curse of Peladon, Androids of Terra, The Mythmakers, Trail of the White Worm, The Poseidon Adventure, Terra Firma, Doctor Who and the Daleks, the movie, Jago and Lightfoot, The Bloodless Soldier, The Five Doctors, and The Long Game. It is better than Vengeance of the Stones, Planet of the Daleks, The Android Invasion, In the Forest of the Night, Evil of the Daleks, Class, For Tonight We Might Die, Modern Undead, The Massacre, Stones of Blood, and is better than Jubilee, or is not as good as Jubilee, Planet of the Dead, Eaters of Light, The Savages, City of Death, The Doctor's Deal, The Time Machine, The Similarity Engine, The Christmas Invasion, Twice Upon a Time, The Beloved Devil, Mark of the Rani, and A Town Called Mercy. I would agree with that. So there we go.
Yeah, Mark of the Rani is better than this.
189 out of 263. That's what we have to say about Blue Forgotten Planet.
Okie dokie.
Right. So don't forget to follow us on Twitch and subscribe on YouTube so you know when we come back with our new season, which will be, well, Brandy will cover all that, but exciting. You can also follow us on Facebook.com/UnearthlyPodcast and Twitter.com/UnearthlyPod. And if you want, you can support us at Patreon.com/UnearthlyPodcast.
All right. On next week's show, there will be no next week's show, as we will be taking our season break to rest up and change a few things around with our titling and format, maybe. Before coming back in 2 weeks with a new season of Unearthly Podcast, a new Doctor and Jodie Whittaker, and a new series of Doctor Who. Bill will be retaking the center seat, as we will be reviewing The Woman Who Fell to Earth, written by Chris Chibnall, and introducing Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, Tosin Cole as Ryan Sinclair, Mandeep Gill as Yasmin Khan, and Bradley Walsh as Graham O'Brien. See you in 2 weeks.
All right. Good night.
Night.
Good night.